Soviet and Russian manned drifting ice stations are important contributors to exploration of the Arctic. The stations are named North Pole, followed by an ordinal number, North Pole 1, etc. Overview. NP drift stations carry out the program of complex year-round research in the fields of oceanology, ice studies, meteorology, aerology, geophysics, hydrochemistry, hydrophysics, and marine biology. On average, an NP station is the host for 600 to 650 ocean depth measurements, 3,500 to 3,900 complex meteorology measurements, 1,200 to 1,300 temperature measurements and seawater probes for chemical analysis, 600 to 650 research balloon launch, magnetic, ionosphere, ice and other observations are also carried out there. Regular measurements of the ice flow coordinates provide the data on the direction and speed of its drift. The modern NP drifting ice station resembles a small settlement with housing for polar explorers and special buildings for the scientific equipment. Usually an NP station begins operations in April and continues for 2 or 3 years until the ice flow reaches the Greenland Sea. Polar explorers are substituted yearly. Since 1937, some 800 people were drifting at NP stations. There are 2 groups of NP stations. Stations drifting on the pack ice, NP1 through NP5, NP7 through NP17, NP20, NP21. Stations drifting on ice islands, NP6, NP18, NP19, NP22. All NP stations are organized by the Russian Arctic and Antarctic Research Institute. History. An idea to use the drift ice for the exploration of nature in the high latitudes of the Arctic Ocean belongs to Fridtjof Nansen, who fulfilled it on Fram between 1893 and 1896. The first stations to use drift ice as means of scientific exploration of the Arctic originated in the Soviet Union in 1937, when the first such station in the world, North Pole 1, started operations. North Pole 1 was established on May 21, 1937, some 20 kilometers from the North Pole by the Expedition into the High Latitudes SEVA 1, led by Otto Schmidt. NP1 operated for 9 months, during which the ice flow traveled 2,850 kilometers. On February 19, 1938, Soviet icebreakers Taimyr and Murman took off 4 polar explorers from the station, who immediately became famous in the USSR and were awarded titles Hero of the Soviet Union. Hydrobiologist Pyotr Sheshov, geophysicist Yevgeny Fyodorov, radioman Ernst Krankel and a leader Ivan Papanin. Since 1954, Soviet NP stations worked continuously, with 1 to 3 such stations operating simultaneously each year. The total distance drifted between 1937 and 1973 was over 80,000 kilometers. North Pole 22 is particularly notable for its record drift, lasting 9 years. On June 28, 1972, the ice flow with North Pole 19 passed over the North Pole for the first time ever. During such long-term observations by NP stations, a lot of important discoveries in physical geography were made. The valuable conclusions on regularities and their connection between processes in the polar region of the Earth's hydrosphere and atmosphere were obtained. Some of the most important discoveries were finding the deep-water Lomonosov Ridge, which crosses the Arctic Ocean, other large features of the ocean bottom's relief, the discovery of 2 systems of the drift, the fact of cyclones' active penetration into the central Arctic, The last Soviet NP station, North Pole 31, was closed in July 1991. In the post-Soviet era, Russian exploration of the Arctic by drifting ice stations was suspended for 12 years. The year 2003 was notable for Russia's return into the Arctic. As of 2006, 3 NP stations had carried out scientific measurements and research since then, NP32 through NP34. The latter was closed on May 25, 2006. NP35 started operations on September 21, 2007 at the point 81.433 degrees north, 103.500 degrees east, 81.433, 103.500, when flags of Russia and St. Petersburg were raised there. 22 scientists, led by A. Wisniewski, are working on the ice flow. Establishment of the station was the third stage of the Arctica 2007 expedition. An appropriate ice flow was searched for from academic Fedorov research vessel, accompanied by nuclear icebreaker Russia, using Mi-8 helicopters, for a week, until an ice flow with an area of 16 square kilometers was found. The ice has since shrunk significantly, however, and the station is now being abandoned ahead of schedule. Past stations